Hey there, this is Mr. Rocco, and I'm here to explain the re-orchestrate and label the tracks. Here you're going to be learning how to manage your project by relabeling the tracks, changing the MIDI instruments, the sounds of the MIDI instruments, and looking at the energy management of a sample track. So let's listen to some of it right here, right now. So that came across okay. Sometimes when we record stuff using screen capture, the audio gets a little bit muddled up, but you can review this track as many times as you'd like. You'll have a copy of it, but this is an excellent example of how you can have an intro, a hook, build up energy, and have a high energy point and an outro. So make sure you give this track a whole listen, but that's not all we're here for. We're also looking at how to manage our project. So here we have an example of a really good energy management style piece, and we're going to be changing the instruments in an interesting way. And we're going to be doing a couple things. We're going to be changing the instruments, and we're going to be relabeling the tracks here. So how do you do that? Well, first thing you want to do is start exploring some of the sounds. So you can isolate each sound by pressing the solo track and listening back to the instrument. So here we have synth, but I want to change that. So I click on the piano right here. Click on the specific track. There's a little keyboard button which tells me it's a MIDI keyboard, and it'll bring me this interesting piano keyboard thing. I've got different instrument, different notes, but I'm here to actually change the sound. So I can click on here, telling me it's a prism lead. So I can change that to as you can see. I can change it to another lead or another synth, or I can change it to orchestral instrument or guitar, whatever I want. Right, so totally up to you. Pick the sound, change it, make it interesting and unique. Right, let's a little more fun here now. But whatever you want to do, I want you to try and rethink this track so that it is more your own style, more your own voice. All right, so we're not changing the notes right now, we're just changing the sounds. Once you have the sound you've selected, I want you to relabel it to capture the actual instrument and the vibe. So if I double click on the text on my track, I can relabel this. I'll call it wobbly synth. Right? I'm going to call it wobbly synth, and that's the name of my track. Okay, so you're going to do that for all the MIDI instruments, and the other thing you're going to be doing is managing the track by looking at the higher and lower sounds of our project. So what you want to do with any project that you're managing is also look at where your instruments are so you can find them later. So usually in digital audio workspaces have the lower instruments at the bottom and the higher instruments at the top. And the one confusing part is that usually we consider all the drums lower instruments. So what you're going to be doing is organizing your track as well by instruments. Once you have them all labeled, you can actually click and drag the tracks around so that you can have them where you want to be. And this is called track stacking. So you can actually have your drums all at the bottom of the project, followed by your bass, and then all the other instruments that you think go on top. All right, so we're organizing stuff from the lowest sounds to the more percussive sounds, things that don't actually have notes attached to them, but they're more percussive, like drums, then stacked on the bass, and then everything else is on top. So I want you to try and manage your track with that as well. And also, when you change the sounds, you want to keep volume in mind as well. So make sure that you're looking at each track's volume, and you can adjust it by clicking and toggling the volume here. Right, so lots of stuff to do to manage your track. Try and aim for something unique. The one track that you won't be able to change is the audio loop. That one will stay the same. And the audio instructions, which are me explaining the instructions in audio format. So those are the tracks that you probably don't want to touch. Everything else is free to mess around with. If you do want to rearrange the tracks, the placement, go for it. But you don't have to do that for this project. I want you to change the sounds. I want you to relabel the tracks, and then I want you to organize them from lowest sounds to highest sounds. So those are the main objectives of this assignment. All right. Good luck. Like I said, try and label the tracks as honestly as possible. Make sure the instrument's there and then the overall vibe, right? So my example here was wobbly synth. But do your best with that. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me through my email at rockog@etsb.ca. Thanks so much for your time. Happy music making, everybody.